In 2021, the FDA issued a black box warning on breast implants, a move that sent shockwaves through the medical and cosmetic world. Why? Because the risks were no longer just whispered in Facebook groups or shared in hushed conversations among women who just didn't feel right. The warning clearly outlined the possibility of a rare cancer, breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma, and a growing concern over a condition now known as breast implant illness. From 2008 to 2021, the FDA received over 1,100 reports of breast implant illness, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Over 50,000 women have come forward to say, these implants are making me sick. Fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, autoimmune issues, symptoms that often get brushed off or misdiagnosed. In the US alone, more than 300,000 breast augmentations happen every year. And as the truth comes to light, explant surgeries have surged by 47% in just 2 years. In 2021, over 36,000 women removed their implants, many desperate to reclaim their health and sanity. Today, I'm joined by someone who knows this journey inside and out. As a board certified functional medicine practitioner, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, certified personal trainer, and women's health coach, she brings a science backed, soul centered approach to healing from the inside out. She didn't just study detox, she lived it. She built a thriving business while burnt out, sick, and silenced by toxic overload. And now she's here to help women understand why burnout isn't a time management problem, it's a toxic burden problem. So please welcome Michele Scarlet.
Thank you so much, Karen. And honestly, now it's been a number of years since I've even had to think about the breast implant illness thing. And you reading those stats, like, oh, it just brought me right back. And I feel for those women who are either struggling to afford explant or don't know, or they're dismissed by their doctors with all the symptoms because it is real and you can recover from it.
I couldn't believe those stats either.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not know that they've surged by 47% to get explants out. I thought that if somebody would have asked me, like, how many women do you think are getting explants? I would have thought like maybe 5%. But
Yeah.
half, almost half.
Yeah.
So this is a serious problem.
This is a serious problem. Yeah. And it's I mean, obviously, people are becoming more aware, which is really great. But it's not because of doctors, unfortunately. It's because of Facebook groups. It's because of functional practitioners. It's because of Instagram, which is kind of
Yeah.
sad, right?
Yeah. Yes, that it's not recognized or wasn't recognized in the medical system, that that's very, very scary. Take me back to, if you wouldn't mind opening up about what made you get breast implants in the first place. I always like to hear women's stories of that because typically it comes from a place of not feeling adequate enough. And so can you just kind of take us back to when was it that you decided to get implants and why?
Sure. So it was it was years ago, back when I was 25. Um, I was in a I was in a new relationship, but I had recently come out of a really bad abusive relationship.
Okay.
And I'm looking back in hindsight. I was such a people pleaser. I had lost a lot of weight leaving that old relationship. I was very flat chested. So there was definitely a drive to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, I guess. I also owned a gym at the time and I worked out a
Mm,
lot. It was huge in the fitness world.
yeah.
Um, Getting breast implants and oh my gosh. And I think just like nervous system wise, I was fight or flight all the time. What did I need to do to keep people in my life? What did I need to do to attract at the time the right people
Hmm.
in my life? I now know that didn't work. because that relationship ended very poorly as well, which is fine, and I'm happy about that at this point. But it was almost as if I needed to have the breast implants in to suffer with the breast implant illness, to heal my body physically and
And
emotionally to
emotionally,
get to where I am today.
of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's typically the way it goes, isn't it?
Right.
We have to really suffer in order to go, okay, maybe it's time I dealt with some stuff and healed from this.
100%. And you know what? I didn't even recognize the breast implants as the issue or the main issue until well into my physical healing journey when
Oh.
I could only shift my physical healing so much.
Mm. So what started happening? Looking back now, like when were the first signs and what were they?
Yeah, I would say digestive issues were the first real, like in my face issue. So I struggled a lot with constipation, bloating, and food sensitivities. And that only got worse year after year. So, at first it was like, okay, maybe I won't eat bread because bread bothers my stomach. And that's pretty typical for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And nobody is putting that to their breast implants, right?
No.
So, okay, I don't eat bread anymore. That's fine. And then it became when it got to its worst point before I explanted, it was almost every single food I would put in my mouth.
And is this common? Is the digestive thing common with breast? Okay. Okay.
Yes. And it's not like I don't want to put it to like breast implant illness equals digestive issues. The
No.
problem is that when you have breast implants, you have this low grade inflammation all the time because your body is always fighting something foreign. And so it stops putting energy into sort of non-vital systems, and your digestive system is not vital for survival.
Right.
So it starts to slow that process down. And so
Okay.
that's why it's really common that we see digestive issues when you have higher inflammation.
And so what is exactly is happening? Like the breast implants are actually are they leaking toxins into the system or is it just your body's fighting that there's silicone in the body and it's foreign or
So
both?
it can be both. So in
Okay.
my case, luckily, after I explanted, the surgeon told me they were completely intact, which
Okay.
number one, great. That's, if we're going down this path, that's a great sign. What I didn't know until I started investigating breast implant illness was that the actual implant, the silicone implant, is not just medical
Silicone.
grade silicone. It's full of heavy metals. It's full of toxic chemicals that now inside your body, which is warm, is leaching into your body. And I say this like, how did I not? Like, this is crazy. How did I
Right?
not think about this before I opted in for that surgery? But yeah, it's something crazy. Like, I want to say like 50 different chemicals and heavy metals that just are leaching into your body. I had them for a decade.
Which most women do. I mean, this is what this is they have them in for life. They don't think that they're ever going to take them out. And then I've also heard that your body will start to like encapsulate them with tissue.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that I also realized at the time. The surgeon who put my breast implants in told me that this can happen and that it does happen. Sometimes in women, it causes capsular contracture, which is like the scar tissue really hardens and you have a deformed breast or like breast implant. But if that doesn't happen, your body still forms some scar tissue around the implant, and it is your body's way of protecting you from this foreign object. So, like, your body is innately being like, this isn't supposed to be here. So, I now have to do something else to make sure you survive because your body's innate response to anything is like, you need to survive.
Yes, yes, of course. And then, so besides the digestive issues, did you get other symptoms that you think were related to them?
I had over 50 different symptoms that again, in my research before I decided to have this next surgery, right?
Okay.
That was going to cost me another $10,000, time, healing, all the things, and body, like a complete body change. I researched really hard. And as I started putting it together, I had over 50 different symptoms. It was so digestion. Have you ever heard of SIBO?
Yes.
So that is also digestion, but very specifically in the small intestine, whereas usually when people feel bloated or constipated, that's issues in the large intestine. So this was small intestine. My hormones were completely tanked. Sex hormones, all of them, like post-menopausal levels. I was
Oh,
35.
oh, oh my gosh. So do you think it's that the toxins are blocking the receptor or just because the immune system's going, this is not the time to get pregnant. We're in like our immune system is activated. There's inflammation, like all of the above kind of thing.
All of the above. It like
Ah,
the best way I can describe it is like it's a cascade effect.
right.
So for 10 years, I have this low grade inflammation. My body is constantly fighting something. I'm always in fight or flight mode. You only have so much vital reserve before your body starts to say, I can't do this anymore. Cortisol starts to tank, liver function starts to tank, adrenal function, thyroid function, and
Yes.
reproductive function. Your body, my body was like literally on low power mode.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I had like the brain fog. When I tell you, so I was running a business at the time, and anytime a new client inquires about your business or like, you end up on a sales call, uh, you're excited, or you should be, right?
Yeah.
Your business is growing. I It was such a chore to respond via email that it like I felt the physical exhaustion anytime somebody new would email me.
Oh my God, because you're like people are contacting you to take care of them,
Yes.
essentially. And you're so burned out. Your nervous system is so burned out. You've got nothing. So
I had
no
nothing
wonder it would
left.
probably just send your system into like, oh my God, I can't do like overwhelm, complete overwhelm.
Yeah. It took like if I were to have ever done an interview like this at that point, I would probably need to sleep for an hour afterward because it would drain every ounce of energy that I would have ever had.
Wow. I remember probably, oh, it was over 10 years ago that I was listening to some podcast and this guy, this functional medicine practitioner was saying, if you've tried everything, when it comes to your digestive system, your hormones and you've taken the hormones, you've taken the supplements, you've done all that you can and you're not getting anywhere, look deeper. Look to see if there is a toxin in your system.
Oh,
And
yes.
this is reminding me that that's what I'm thinking, right? Like mine was heavy metals. Yours probably was partially too,
Mine was
right?
heavy metals as well. Yep. And mold.
Oh
They can grow
my gosh.
mold.
Oh, they shouldn't be allowed to do this.
They should not be allowed. They should absolutely not be allowed. And I have a number of friends who still have them. I have a friend who's been
Same.
diagnosed with that cancer and isn't taking them out.
What?
I honestly,
That's so sad.
it makes me really sad. And I was young at the time. I was 25 at the time. And a good friend of mine who referred me to her surgeon had had them since she was 18.
Which you shouldn't be doing breast implants at 18. But I
No.
know that that's very common now. It's very common. What was your emotional, like, well, how did you feel about your body and your emotional state after getting them out? Was it a relief, but then, like, did you get the fat transplant done?
No. It's
No,
so
you just,
funny.
okay.
I just had them out.
Yep.
My doctor had said like you're not a candidate for that necessarily. Like you have good elasticity. Aesthetically, you will be fine. And I was, and I am,
Okay.
thankfully. And I actually, because after they came out, I actually lost like 20 pounds because that was part of my symptoms as well, was this like
Weight
really
loss
strange.
resistance.
Yeah, because I was so inflamed. Again, when you're on low power mode, your body is not it's not going to let go of fat very easily.
No, no.
So I actually lost all this weight. And if I were to look at a side by side photo of me with breast implants, at the fittest time in my life, owning a gym to, 3 months after explant, I was leaner. I looked stronger. I looked healthier. No more inflammation. I was loving how I looked afterward.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
positive to hear. And I'm
Yeah.
sure so many women appreciate hearing that. And I will tell you, I had a really close friend of mine uh, who she had had breast implants for over 30 years, maybe 40 years. She was reaching her later, she was in her late 60s, and she said, you know what? I'm due for another implant. I'm going to get rid of them. She's like, I don't
Yeah.
need to be a 75-year-old woman with big breasts anymore. So she got them taken out and they did the fat transplant and they look unbelievable. And I'm like, why are they not offering this as a surgery? I know it's not
Right.
everybody's a candidate for it, but why are we not offering that to women before we offer the implant if they are a candidate?
Yeah.
Because they looked super natural. They were small, but they were beautiful, like perfect little breasts. Yeah, money, money.
Money.
Yes.
It floors me because the surgeon who put my breast implants in told me I will have them for life. They will never expire. There will be no issues. I will never need to re-up this. And then when I decided to explant, I went back to him and said, like, no, I need to explant. And his exact words in his email to me were, if it's not broke, we're not fixing it.
Oh,
Meaning, if it didn't rupture, then there's no need, like, we're not doing this. And I had to go seek out another surgeon who didn't particularly believe in breast implant illness either, but I think he understood at the time that he could cash in on women
right.
who didn't want them anymore
Of
because it
course. Of
costs the
course.
same amount of money, right? And the risk, wow, and I don't want to deter anybody from getting them out if you've decided that, because ultimately that is the best thing for your body if you decide. But
Mhm.
right before he put me under for explant surgery, he said, I'm going to have to scrape scar tissue off of your rib cage, but don't worry. I did a semester in cardiothoracic surgery, so if I puncture your lung, I'll be able to bring you
He
back.
tells you this when you're about to go under.
Right before he puts the
What?
anesthesia in my
Who
arm,
is
and I
this
was,
guy? This is terrible, Michelle. Horrible. Oh my
but
God.
he was the only surgeon in Toronto that I could find that would
I would
do an
do it.
en blanc surgery, which is make sure that the capsule comes out, which is the scar tissue, make sure it comes out completely whole, and would scrape anything off of my chest wall.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, and there's no way to diagnose this, is there? Breast implant illness. It's just a
No.
matter of you got to look for this. If you have a lot of these symptoms, and then you just got to go, okay, well, maybe it is. I'm going to get them out and I'll see if I feel better. And I hope I do, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's breast implant illness is kind of a similar diagnosis to like IBS, uh,
Right.
because it's just like a cluster of symptoms that
Yeah.
sounds like this thing we all know, but it's not an official diagnosis. And when I was doing my research, I went to my GP first and said, I think this is what's going on. And she flat out said, impossible. It is impossible that all of that is connected. The anxiety, the depression, the inflammation, the gut issues, the hormone issues, all of it. She's like, impossible. I went to another doctor. He said, impossible. And so then I joined a Facebook group. Again, I feel really sad that like that's where I got a lot of my information,
Yeah.
but it was truly this Facebook group. I connected with 10,000 women in this Facebook group. And this is like one of many groups that were all experiencing the exact same thing. Um, and I just was really lucky enough to be also at the time going through my own education in functional medicine. So I knew that after I had them out, how I needed to support my body to actually heal. Because if that stuff is all left
Yeah.
inside you, not the actual implant, but the heavy metals, the mold, and then that constant inflammation, you're not going to heal. There is work to be done afterward.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. All of you poor women that have breast implants, and I'm so sorry that that you having to go through this because every single person that has implants, they're going to be affected in some way, shape, or form. Nobody's exempt from that. The
No,
immune system,
nobody.
right? Like this is the body's natural response to something foreign being in the body. It's going to happen. To what
It's
degree?
going to happen. Yeah, it's
Yes.
totally going to happen. And it's not breast implants alone. It could be, screws in your ankle because you broke your ankle. It
Right.
could be a plate in your knee because you broke your knee. Like anytime there is something foreign in your body is going to have a response.
Yes. Okay, so everybody hear that.
Yeah. And I understand that there are things like if you need to have a hip replacement, we're going to weigh the risk and the reward out of that. But for me, risk versus reward in terms of my breast, that was a no-brainer when I realized my health was suffering.
Thankfully, we are seeing a bit of a turn with the size of breasts that are considered attractive
Hmm.
and or desired, I should say. Like we're starting to see a lot of actresses and high profile people that are getting explants done or they're getting a smaller sized implant
Yes.
because the big breast implants aren't as popular anymore and now it's trendier to actually have a smaller breast.
Yes, yes, agreed. I actually, and the size that I chose was very natural. It was not something that was over the top, which I appreciated my
You
doctor
didn't you didn't
listening to me.
strap on some triple D's on yourself, Michelle?
No, I did not. I
No,
knew that, like
no
I have,
judgment if you did decide that. To each his own. I just can't
I
imagine Michelle. If you guys look at her, she's a very petite woman. So,
yeah, I am a small frame and I'm an
yeah,
athletic build, and so it just wouldn't have looked right
right.
on me. So I'm glad that my surgeon and I decided, and for that purpose. But what I find myself doing, and I did it last night, my husband and I were watching a show, and the main character clearly has natural breasts, and they were small. And I had the thought in my like, I'm so happy to see that on TV. When I
Yes.
see women who don't have Botox on TV and their eyebrows move, I'm like, oh, it's just nice to see, like women who are natural. And not to say that women who are not natural aren't attractive,
Yeah. If you
but
look
I
at my
guess,
forehead, Michelle, it ain't moving right now. Truth be
okay,
told.
okay. Well, here's part. So I used to also get Botox, my 11s and just
Yes.
above my
The bitch
eyebrows.
stitch, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bitch stitch. And and it was also at the time I still had my implants in, and I was dealing with toxic overload,
Yeah.
and I had a massive reaction. My whole face swelled to other people wouldn't
No.
have seen it, but I remember like 2 days after getting it done, and I had been getting it done for a couple of years. Um, I remember driving about an hour north to a friend's house, and I put sunglasses on. And when I took my sunglasses off, these are sunglasses I had worn every day for a number of years, I had full on indents
Oh my goodness.
in my face, and my face was burning, it was hot. And I was like, oh my God, these, like, that is causing an issue. And so my toxic load was
Oh.
just so
So,
high
right.
that I
It
was
was too
having
much.
more
Yeah.
reactions. Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Okay. Well, you talk about that burnout isn't necessarily a time management problem for women, which we all think that it is.
for
Or
sure.
we normalize everyday life to think like this is normal. This is, this how I am feeling is normal. But what you're saying is it's not necessarily a time management problem, it's a toxic load problem. Explain that.
Yes. So when I was in my highest toxic load, and lab results can reflect this. Okay.
Okay.
So
Well,
when I
can
had
you, sorry, in which way? Like just the hormones being low, or were you seeing things in like a CBC panel that showed you that you were having some problems?
on the Dutch test, the
Yeah.
oxidative stress marker. So the
Okay.
stress marker that we know comes from toxic chemicals, we know comes from what we're ingesting, what we're putting on our skin. To me, the marker of like you need to detox your environment is that one. It's the thing, it's the marker that's showing cellular damage.
Yeah.
So where else is that coming from? That's coming from toxic load, cellular damage. So that marker was 18 on my Dutch test. Excuse me,
What's the reference?
2 to 5.
Oh, I have done probably 1,000 Dutch tests. I don't think I've ever seen someone's that high.
Me neither. And then after explant, after I've decided I wasn't going to be doing Botox anymore, and I went and I now do daily detox. Since I've retested 1.8.
You're kidding. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's gratifying. So whatever you were doing is working, and we're going to talk about that. Don't worry, everyone. We're going to talk about what
Yes.
she did to detox, but okay. So that's what
So,
you, okay, go on.
so at the time when my toxic overload was at its highest, I had the worst energy, the worst brain fog, as I mentioned it. An email coming in would be a disaster for me mentally and energetically. I would still do the things because I owned a business and I had like I am a driven, high functioning woman, so like, yeah, okay, pull my bootstraps up and keep moving. But like inside, like this is now in hindsight,
Yes,
inside I was dying.
right.
I was completely exhausted. I'm a very competitive person. My husband and I met in a fitness scenario so many years ago, and the things we love to do together are like cycling 50 kilometers, and he is incredibly strong and incredibly athletic. And for majority of the time I've known him, I have been able to keep up. And at that time, my performance, we would end a ride and I would be in tears because I was so mad at my performance. Like I could not keep up to him. And it would
Wow.
drive me insane. And I would have like an actual emotional response to it.
Yeah.
Um, and
Which
then
was probably like the worst thing you could have been doing in your condition when you're so burned out
why am I cycling
and you're
50
cycling 50
kilometers?
kilometers trying so hard to keep up to your husband. Just like, oh my goodness. Yeah, your
Just
poor body. Yeah, yeah.
really
Crazy
silly,
what we
really,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, 2020 hit and I had to close my gym, obviously, for a number of reasons.
Yes.
But that closure gave me the time and the knowledge and that's when I had my explant surgery, and that's when all my healing journey started because it was almost as if my body had an opportunity to shut down and go like, okay, now you can't do anything, so
Hmm.
you're not going to do anything.
Hmm.
So I went through my healing journey. I had to lay off my employees. I was like starting everything fresh. I moved online and whatnot, and I really took care of myself. And again, we'll get into the details of how I take care of myself now. But as I rebuilt my company, I have very little white space on my calendar. Okay. I am booked from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day, back to back to back to back, whether it's delivering to my clients, whether it's podcast episodes, whether it's, marketing and sales and all, or meeting with my team.
Yeah.
Like I'm, I run a business, right? So if
Yes.
there's other women out there going, how do I even find white space? I don't have a lot of white space in my calendar. And I have a 2-year old.
Oh my goodness.
So my life is very busy. It's probably more busy than it's ever been. And I have never felt better.
Oh
I
wow.
would never say to you right now that I feel burnt out. I would never say to you that I'm not energized. I go to bed at 9:30. I wake up at 6. I sleep well. I truly believe that my lifestyle today, daily detox, eating well, eating organic, specifically not having breast implants in, is actually the reason why my body is not burnt out and has the resilience it has now to an even busier schedule.
Oh, I'm so glad you're saying this because I always think to myself that our stress levels, yeah, they're high, especially for women now, right? Like we're still running the household, we're still the main caretakers, it seems like, of the children or the household, the cooking, the cleaning, and things like that. And now we're working full time a lot of the time too. Some women
Yeah.
choose not to, but some do. Some choose to do both. That's a lot. And the stress of that is it is a lot. I'm not saying it's not, but I think back to 200 years ago when we had none of these luxuries that we have today, that you were going out in the morning, you're working the fields, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're,
You probably have eight
walking
children.
miles to work. Yeah, you've got 8 children to manage. Like this, your husband would go away to war, for months
Yes,
on end. Their stress load was huge. And
big
it's
time.
like, what are we, just a bunch of wimps now that we can't handle our stress? But when you put it into the context of, okay, we've got all of this now, right? Which in most cases, if you had a healthy system, you could
Right.
you could tolerate this. You're proof of that,
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
But because we now have this, it's not just life isn't just stressful, it's what's in our environment that is stressing our bodies out, that is making
Yes.
us spill over that cup of
Yes.
stress, right? So we've got the toxic overload, the lights, just the artificial lighting is a stress on our body.
Yes.
The not being in tune with circadian rhythm, not seeing, yes,
The AirPods.
my AirPod, she's pointing to my ears. I got AirPods in, which I know are terrible for me, but I don't
I
put them in
mean,
very often.
I
Our
have my
phones.
lap. Yeah, my laptop is in front of me. My
I was just gonna
iPad
say
is next to me.
EMF,
Yeah, exactly. It is
huge
there's
stressor.
constant stress on our body all day, every day, even when we're sleeping.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that load is way higher than it's ever
Ever,
been in
yeah.
history.
I mean, we're being born, they say, with like over 400 different chemicals in our body as babies.
Yes.
And then you have a lifetime of stuff on top of that. And then you're going to go get breast implants and you're going to try and run your own business and have children. And we wonder why some of us can't, majority of us can't handle it.
Yes.
And so it's
And
about getting rid of these toxins, but also lifestyles.
yes, absolutely. And
Revamp.
what I don't want your listeners to think is that, like, if, oh, I don't have breast implants, so this isn't my issue. Breast implants was just my thing, right? Like, if you are somebody who drinks wine, that is a literal poison. I'm not saying I don't drink wine. I drink wine occasionally. Um, but again, my lifestyle, it's not the stressor on my body that it maybe once was. And I'm not
Hmm.
trying to demonize anybody who drinks wine or Botox, right? That
Yeah.
is a poison that we are choosing to put in our bodies. So maybe your thing
Botulism.
isn't, yeah, maybe it's your thing is not breast implants, but don't think that your burnout
Right.
isn't related to toxin overload because you didn't have breast implants. Our world is so
Correct.
incredibly toxic, and it's about the accumulation of what is staying in your body, which is often why when we get to perimenopause, it's exacerbated. Your
Yes.
symptoms are like even worse than you could imagine because you're not only going through this hormonal shift, but now that accumulation has caught up to you.
Right. Yep. Yep. And people will say that to me. They'll be like, "Well, this is natural. Like we've never had to do this before, HRT. So why are we replacing hormones when we're supposed to go into menopause and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, it's not the way it used to be. Like we're
Yeah.
suffering a lot more and we're living a lot longer.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a whole different ball game right now.
Yes.
And
With
women are
my
suffering immensely.
Yes. My with my perimenopause and menopausal clients, the first thing we do before we step into HRT is detox and lowering that toxic load because it does help. I don't want to say rebalance hormones because if there is a decline, we're in it, right? But it takes the stress off of all your other systems first,
Yes, yes.
so that
And
when we
it
do
clears
step
out
in,
the receptors so that the
yes.
hormones that you do have left can work better.
Yes, exactly. And things are more efficient. And then, we can retest, see where your hormones are at that point, look at where your cortisol levels are at. And then where's your thyroid, right? All of this is playing a role. When those things are optimal, the HRT does even better. It becomes
Yeah,
enhanced.
yeah. I wish every woman would actually do some form of detoxification before starting HRT or while starting HRT
Hmm.
and then continue doing it because it should be part of a protocol, an HRT protocol. We have it in all of our programs. We always recommend it to people, depending on what they're dealing with, whether they've got high liver enzymes or digestive problems or gallbladder issues. Like we're always trying to make sure that we tend to that too in our clients because it's such an important piece of the puzzle
Absolutely.
of feeling
Absolutely.
good.
If you're not able to detox, like let's say somebody's liver is sluggish, meaning there's like thick sludge and bile versus like really free flowing bile, right? Which is what carries out the toxins. You are going to be having worse hormonal symptoms because you're going to be recirculating hormones through your body rather than metabolizing and eliminating them like they should be. So,
Mhm.
like, if that's just like one part of it, right? And so, if you're coming to you, Karen, for HRT or hormonal therapy or hormonal support, to me, they just go hand in hand.
Yep. Yep. So what did you do? Did you follow a very specific protocol when you got the implant explant done? Or did you just kind of go, okay, I'm just going to like do an all over just detoxification?
So immediately after, I did a very specific protocol, which
Okay.
was very specifically for heavy metals. It wasn't even mold yet because I wasn't 100% sure that that was my case. So I
Heavy
started very,
metal did you do? Which one did you
sorry,
do? The
um,
protocol.
it was a protocol through Cellcore's
Okay.
sister company, which now it's been so many years now, I don't remember the name of it. But it was very specific for aluminum. Oh, again, I don't know exactly, but
Silkworth is good.
yeah, the
Mhm.
practitioner that I can get you the name of the sister company, but the practitioner I was working with, this was very specific to breast implant illness.
Okay.
So yes, I did follow that. That was like a 12-week protocol, and then I retested. Hormones up, cortisol balanced, thyroid function back, weight down, pregnant within 4 months.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh my goodness. Do you remember what the supplements were that you were taking?
Uh,
Or
no, I'm gonna
some
have
of
to.
them? No? Okay.
Mm-mm,
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah, just because I have researched heavy metals for so many years, and there's so many different protocols. I love Cellcore. I think it's my like most recommended probably detoxification line of supplements. So
Me
I'll
too.
find out which is what their sister company is. But I know that the Cellcore they use a lot of fulvic and humic acid.
Yes, and I want to say that was probably a part of it. I mean, why would they not? That's their
They use like Tudka and they use like
yeah.
some different stuff in there for sure.
And
But
this is
lots of fulvic
their
and humic.
yeah, I think and their products, Cellcore's products are unique to them. And I don't know why they wouldn't use that in their sister company. So I feel like that's exactly the protocol that I was on. And today, Cellcore is what I recommend. And we still, in my family, and even with my 2-year-old, he gets a binder every day because our
Which one?
world is, he uses the biotoxin binder.
How?
I open up the capsule and I'll often like if I have a breakfast muffin for him or whatever,
Yep.
I'll break
Just
open the
sneak it
muffin,
in there.
put about a quarter of the capsule in because he's 2, he's already been exposed to more than I was when I was 2.
Yep.
And so I just believe that I don't want him to end up having all of these autoimmune issues and, ADHD and things like that as he grows up. I want him to be as healthy as possible. And so because I know better, I do better. That's it.
Yep. Yeah. And the fact that you did like that everything improved within 12 weeks, that's so satisfying to hear because a lot of us are like, oh my gosh, like how long am I going to be detoxing for before I start to see results? Which is, I know it's different for everybody, but knowing that you did get better within 3 months,
Yeah.
that's probably really good to hear for a lot
Yeah.
of women. Yeah.
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 So that was like a really deep protocol. And then
Okay.
I got pregnant, so detox stopped.
Yep.
Other than my natural functions. And then I was breastfeeding. So I also didn't detox then. And then when I finished breastfeeding, it was detox every day. Not to the same extent because I had already gone through, the deep detox protocol. But like now in my everyday life, the supplements that I use, I take a binder every day. Castor oil packs, coffee enemas, not all of these every day.
Okay.
Dry brushing. I don't put toxic chemicals on my body to just like help with not even adding the load to my body.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you have a sauna?
We don't have a sauna.
Okay. Yeah.
We just moved here
Yeah.
into this house. It is on our list of things to get
Yeah. Yeah.
or to build. My husband's handy.
Yeah. The ever-growing list of what I need for
Of a
for my
hundred percent,
biohacks. Yeah.
100%. But I am really big on, I mean, sweating in general. So I'm just somebody who will be outside all summer long, making sure that I'm exercising and walking and gardening and making sure that I get a good sweat on.
And you yourself take the biotoxin supplement to help with binding.
I do. I do. And I,
Yes.
I will often rotate binders from Cellcore.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they attract different things, right? So sometimes the biotoxin binder is like their mildest form, great for everyday use, and then they have three others that are kind of a step up from each one, and some of them get different mold species, some of them get different heavy metals. If you're in a kill phase, so you're killing off bad gut bugs or bacteria or parasites, heavy metals and mycotoxins can bind to them, and when they die, those get released into your body.
I've heard this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you get rid of heavy metals only to discover that because the heavy metals will actually create like a little shell around mold spores
Yes.
in the body.
Yes.
So you go get rid of the heavy metals, and now you've got a bunch of mold in your system being released, and you feel
Yes.
even sicker.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So what did you do did you then get into the mold detox after
I did.
breastfeeding? Oh
I
my
did.
goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That was a lot of coffee enemas. That was daily
Okay.
coffee enemas for about 70
Okay.
days.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah. But that increases, explain coffee enemas because a lot of people are like, yeah, no, thank you. It's so funny because that's something that I've done for, oh God, probably 25 years.
Oh, you have.
Yes, because I read about it in this one of the first nutrition books I ever bought when I was in my 20s. And it had a whole section on enemas and giving yourself coffee. One of them was coffee and how it's so great for detoxification. So I would just periodically do it. And I still periodically will do it if I'm doing a detox of some sort. Then yes, it can be very rewarding as far as like if you've got symptoms like herxing, if you're herxing, like getting
Oh,
symptoms
yeah.
from detox, doing a coffee enema sure helps to get rid of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah, every day for about 70 days, I did a coffee enema.
Wow.
Um, what I would say about them, well, first of all, logistically, what happens is the compounds in the specific type of coffee, please don't just go buy like Starbucks coffee and brew it and insert that. That is not the type of coffee that you want. You want one that is made for coffee enemas. You want one that is mold free, heavy metal free. There's some parameters around that,
Okay.
which if your listeners are interested in, Karen, I can give you the entire ultimate coffee enema guide that I have as a
Yes.
yeah as a freebie.
Yes.
So I'll
Okay.
make sure that you have that. All the links to the right coffees are there. Excuse me. And a disclaimer: don't do it hot.
No, put it in your fridge or leave it
Let
sitting
it
out.
get to
Better
room
is sitting,
temperature.
yeah, room temperature is best.
Yeah.
Cold up your butt, it's not very pleasant.
No. So
Or
room
hot.
temperature
Cold
is
or
best.
hot, not pleasant, people.
Like test it with your finger. If your finger's
Yes.
not burning, you'll probably be okay. Please don't listen to me when I say that disclaimer. I don't want to
Yes.
be to blame for anybody burning their rectum.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically what it is, the compounds in this coffee hit your one of your biggest arteries in your colon and it goes directly to your liver, increases bile flow and increases glutathione, which is your master antioxidant by what I've read 1,000 times.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
So this is, I mean, if you're talking about detox and cellular damage, right, from chemicals, pesticides, the pollution in our air, the, stuff in our soil, um, that is causing us to have cellular damage, antioxidants is the actual antidote to that. So
Right.
if you can increase your glutathione, your master antioxidant by a thousand times, I mean, this is the way to do it.
Ah, yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. And now, if you want to get logistically, and I think I do have this in the guide, um, it comes with practice. It's very uncomfortable at first. It's weird. I only started talking about this on my podcast or in on my socials a very short time ago because it's kind of weird, right? Like, what are you putting up your butt? And I get people message me all the time being like, "What are you doing?" But it has made me feel a thousand times better. And that energy piece, that burnout piece, like I told you, I've legitimately never felt better in my life. And, we're pushing middle age for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, and they do, and you hear that from everybody that does try them. Most people, I think everyone that I've heard from will say that yeah, they were very helpful.
Yeah,
So it is awkward for sure. And
sure.
you certainly don't want somebody coming into the bathroom when you're doing it. Like you're in a pretty precarious, like little situation or position,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll say to my husband, okay, you need to go out for an hour. I need some
right?
privacy. Like, get out of the whole house.
Yeah, totally. Because it sounds like you're having diarrhea when you sit on your toilet because you're
It's
just
terrible.
all this coffee's coming out. Oh my gosh. But
But I
yes,
will
it
say,
helps.
if if this isn't too much, during that time, I also during that time of mold eradication out of my body, I did a parasite cleanse at the same time because I knew I was setting myself up for this detox, and the parasites that came out of my body
Yes, I've
were
heard this.
it is unbelievable what can live inside of your body
Yeah.
um, for 40 years.
Oh, like did you actually see parasites moving, like worms or
No,
anything?
by that time
Okay.
they're dead. They're dead
Okay.
by that point because I was taking specific herbs to kill them inside of my body, and then the coffee enema just helped flush them out. But yes, worms.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've heard this from everybody that does a lot of coffee enemas will at some point go, oh my goodness, you should see what's coming out of me.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? There's alongside parasites, biofilm. Biofilm is what protects parasites and viruses and bad gut bugs. That has to be broken down first. And a lot of that gets kind of built up on your intestinal walls. And that can cause major issues with digestive system. It can cause major issues with gut health and microbiome balance. And so coffee enemas help rid your body of that as well, which is another reason. And so that toxic load comes down every time that biofilm breaks down and comes out of your body. So another reason why burnout isn't solely time management. It is like your body is having a real physical reaction to accumulation of toxins over the years.
Hmm. I find, and I'm sure you find this too, like most people don't detox properly. Like they'll go to the store and they'll just get, a little kit or something that really when you look at the ingredients, it's inducing diarrhea, a lot of it.
Yes.
And that's about it. Like they'll have some
Yes.
stuff in there that will maybe kill off some parasites and what have you, but very few of them are doing like proper, like opening up the drainage pathways first, supporting both phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3
Agree.
detoxification. And so I think that people need to be really, really careful because if you're doing some just cheap kit you got off of Amazon that's like, dude, this 12-day detox, you could actually be harming yourself because your body, if it's, let's say you do fine with phase 1 but not phase 2, you're going to go dump all these toxins, or let's say the herbals in there are all phase 1 supporters. You go dump a bunch of toxins into the body and you don't do well with phase 2 and you've got no supplements to support that, you're going to reabsorb these toxins.
And the way you will feel, it's garbage. I've done those.
Same.
I've done them for, I would have to sleep midday for 2 hours for 2 weeks because my body just couldn't handle the circulation of toxins that I just
Dumped
exposed
out.
myself to. Yeah. Yeah. It would be like major migraines or nausea
Yes.
or, those Herc symptoms are not nice.
No, and they do say like if you're getting a lot of hercs, that's your sign that you're not getting rid of it
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
I did the mold detoxification and the parasite cleanse, and I was doing the coffee enema 70 days straight, I didn't have not a single Herx reaction. And I had so much come out. And I was like, I know I'm detoxing. I see it. And there was not one single headache, not 1 ounce of tiredness, no nausea, nothing.
Oh my good. And that was all cell core as well, or they're
That was
yeah,
all
yeah.
Cellcore. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I do have a practitioner's account for Cellcore, so I'll link to that everybody in the show notes because I still to this day it's the one that I always recommend if you're wanting to do a big detox, follow their regime. That or Quicksilver.
I do like Quicksilver as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Very comprehensive, very strong. A lot of his stuff is very glutathione based, which I personally have a problem with taking straight glutathione. I don't feel well at all, and I need to take N-acetylcysteine instead. So
Okay.
yeah, but his stuff is stronger as well. Like the heavy metal stuff is stronger in the Quicksilver line, right? Like he's got EDTA, he's got,
Right.
like, and they don't at Cellcore. It's more of that vulvic humic and then the killing of the parasites and stuff like that and getting that drainage happening. I think they're super
Yeah.
big on that, which, so both are good. But yeah, I think Quicksilver is more for the heavy metal side of things and it's a lot more intense. And then the Cellcore is just super comprehensive and great for overall detox.
Yes, I would preface that all with no matter what you go with, whether it's some kit off Amazon, which I don't recommend,
Yeah.
or if there's an influencer talking about it and it sounds like your symptoms, don't do that. You can do a self-prescribed thing through Cellcore or through Quicksilver, but I do really highly recommend you work with somebody who knows what they're doing because you are bound to come up. If you're doing it on your own, you are bound to come up against either some crappy symptoms or just even questions, right? Like your body is going to be doing some things, it's going to be changing. Don't do it alone. Let somebody
Hmm.
guide you through it.
Yeah, yeah. So you do it properly because yeah, you can make yourself so sick.
Yeah.
So what is a woman looking out for as far as symptoms? Like just this typical burnout that we see is that's like a number one thing is yes, every woman's burned out, but could it all be that it's the toxic overload?
I mean, thinking about, I mean, it's definitely what I see with my clientele. Because my clientele is this like the female founder, the high functioning, very much like me, high functioning, kind of pull up your bootstraps and go. So burnout is definitely, or on the verge of burnout, is something that I see a lot. And that's usually their main complaint when they come to me.
Okay.
But as we start digging deeper, it is the cortisol crashes, the blood sugar crashes, the can't sleep at night, interrupted sleep, weight gain is a big one, and digestive issues.
Inability to lose weight.
Yes,
Huge. Yeah.
huge.
It's almost always toxins.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're barely eating and exercising like a mad woman and doing all the things right and you're still not losing and you're still gaining, it's going to be a toxin.
100%, 100%. I just had a client this morning say to me, so one of her goals was to lose about 15 pounds. It wasn't a ton, but she just didn't feel good in her clothes, didn't feel good in her skin. But her main complaint was burnout. And we just started with her food. She was already in a state of overwhelm. We just started with her food. She sent me a text today and she had cut out gluten for the first time ever in her life. So 40 years old,
Makes
first
this
time
so
ever.
dramatic. Yeah.
She accidentally ate it after about 4 weeks of not doing it. Full swollen lymph nodes, pain in her lymph nodes, like a full on reaction, inflammation, hands swelling, rings don't fit. And I was like, binder, lots of water, get sweating today, get that out of your system. And like let's talk about it again tomorrow, but you are having a serious reaction to what you're eating.
Yeah.
And that's the inflammatory process. So yes,
And she probably had no idea that she was had any sensitivity to gluten because your body gets used to it and you don't realize that what it's causing until you remove it. And it
yes.
takes 3 to 4 weeks just for those antibodies to subside. So it's when you put it back in that you get this exaggerated response. And then you're like, oh no. I had a woman who she was autoimmune. And so I got her to do the autoimmune protocol for 4 weeks. And then I had her put one food in at a time. She put back in peppers
Oh
and she
yeah.
vomited.
Wow.
And she was like, what?
Yeah.
Who would have known that I was having a sensitivity to nightshades?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very common. Food, I always start with food because it's our biggest controllable,
Yeah.
right? It's what we are choosing to put in our mouth, what we are choosing to put into our fridge. The rest can come later as you get more confident, right? It's like baby steps and habit stacking and consistency over time. But food is a big one for
Yeah.
toxins.
Yeah. But all of this, if you did all the cell core stuff and you're doing all the detox and you're managing your stress and doing all the things and you have breast implants and you're not getting better, is that not a
Time,
sign? Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to look a
Yeah.
little deeper for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Because if it's not working,
yeah,
dude.
there's something deeper going on. I would say, I said digestive issues were the first thing, when we first started talking, and when I look back in hindsight. But the
Hmm.
thing that made me change, the thing that really hit me in the face like a bag of bricks was the weight gain and the
Hmm.
inability to take it off.
Yes. Yeah. Which is what is usually the thing that it will drive a woman to. It's like, yeah, your breasts look better, but now you're gaining weight. So, like,
Yeah,
which is worse,
100%. And I'm just somebody like, comfortable in my own skin. I am an athletic build. I am petite. There was no way I was accepting being 20 or 25 pounds heavier. It just wasn't happening for me.
No, no.
So
And
$10,000 later, explant.
I've worked with a number of women who had done explants, and I will say every one of them say they feel better after.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they'll tell me the exact same story, which is I just kind of got all of these little symptoms that just started to get worse and worse, right? Like you could push them off and oh, it's just digestive. Oh, it's just fatigue. Oh, it's just inflammation. I mean, who doesn't have all of these problems?
Hmm.
But then it starts to build up, build up, build up as time goes on. And then everything, like you said, it's like there's like a breaking point in your nervous system where
Yes.
now it can't handle anything. And that's
Yes.
exactly what happened to me when I was in my 30s. Like I had my child and which depletes you. Then I
Of
went
course.
into like this total crash. You would have thought I had breast implants because I had the exact same symptoms, massive digestive problems, migraines. I just kept gaining weight no matter what I was doing, couldn't get it off, was barely eating, super inflamed. I looked terrible. I was having histamine reactions. And this was out of like just boom, happened, insomnia, and
Yes.
it was that my nervous system just finally was like, screw you, we're
Yep.
done.
Yep. Just you had no more vital reserves. So
Mm-mm.
everything hit you.
Yep, yeah, and my body couldn't take it anymore. And I think a lot of women can relate to that story and your
Yeah.
story, where it's just like it suddenly becomes too much and their nervous system's shot. And so
Yeah.
we got to look at the toxins. We got to look at our lifestyle, of course. But maybe you can handle your lifestyle if you just get rid of the toxins, like you do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that. I'm going to get rid of my toxins now.
Well, here's the thing. Like, no high functioning woman wants to be told that she needs to take a step back from work.
No,
Like
I hate that.
most women can't even function thinking about that,
No, I
right?
can't.
But like if you had maybe if you did a 6 or 12 week detox protocol with a practitioner, with somebody who knows what they're doing, and then was able to maintain it,
Hmm.
you could live your life the way you want to live it. Right. And
Exactly.
if you choose to live it like meeting after meeting
Yeah.
after meeting and productivity and all the things, like I
At
can't
least you
stop
can
doing,
tolerate it.
you can tolerate it. Yeah. And hey,
And
maybe
it's
you'll
not
even
harming you.
thrive. Right.
Yes. And that is such a different concept than what we hear every day. What,
Hmm.
right? What high functioning women are told every day is you got to find time for yourself. And I preach this all the time to clients. And I try and practice what I preach, which, yes, of course, we should always take time for ourselves and
Of course.
all of that stuff and give ourselves some self-care. Great, 100%. But I also like to hear, wow, if I could just unload some of these toxins that I have, that I could function a lot better and have the energy to do what I want to be doing.
Yes,
Love
exactly.
that.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah. And so do you work with people for with detoxification then in your
Yes.
practice? Yes.
Yes. It's
So
our
tell us what you
first
do.
step. First step, before I even
Always.
see any lab testing, the first 30 days is all about drainage. While we wait for lab testing to come in, we open drainage pathways because it doesn't matter what comes in on somebody's lab tests. If those drainage pathways are not open, everything that we would address with the lab testing would be for nothing because it recirculation, we would just feel worse. So first 30 days is always drainage for every client.
And then you do comprehensive labs, and sometimes Dutch testing, like urine metabolite testing.
Yep, always every one of my clients, there's a Dutch test with it. There's a stool test. We do a heavy metal HTMA test. Those are some foundationals. If
Hmm.
somebody is coming to me knowing they have mold exposure, we can go deeper. But those three are on everybody. And then we start addressing what we have found on the labs and we correlate it to their symptoms. And oftentimes we are like a 6-12 month protocol.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of like the blood sugar problems are from toxins. So do you see people's blood sugar getting a lot better? Like people that are eating well, they shouldn't have dysregulated blood sugar, yet they do. And then do you see that getting better as they let go of these toxins?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
oftentimes what I'll see is estrogen dominance.
Hmm.
So higher estrogen than the ideal ratio to progesterone, which almost always equals insulin resistance. So we're going to have blood
Because
sugar
the
roller coaster.
inflammation. Hmm.
Yeah. So if we can start detoxing that excess estrogen, then our insulin resistance comes down.
Yeah.
And then on
Yeah.
top of that, I work with them with food. So obviously we're protein forward, higher fiber, that kind of thing.
Oh, they must feel so good afterwards, though.
I just had a client text me. She just told me she's down 20 pounds in 3 months.
You're
And that was her
kidding.
biggest goal. And she honestly said to me, she's worked with naturopaths, she's worked with other practitioners. She was so skeptical to work with me. And I just, I was like, just trust the process. And
Yeah.
she's down 20 pounds in 3 months. And I was like, this is huge.
Wow.
We should celebrate this.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're inspiring me. I want to get back on the train. I've got so much detox stuff. I got all the Quicksilver supplements in my fridge and cupboard, and I've got so many things for detoxification. I
Yes.
just haven't gone and done it yet. I
Yes.
did it for a little bit and then I fell off the wagon.
I mean, I get it, right? Like life happens and that's okay. I think it's more about consistency over time than it is about perfection anyway.
Yes, yeah. And I have a sauna now, which I
Nice.
use. And I think too, for everybody listening, Cellcore is great, but also another company that I just love is Beam Minerals. I don't know if you use those, Michelle, but it's fulvic and humic acid, and it just gives you, and I take that every day. My son takes it, and it gives you a very nice, mild daily detox, plus mineralizes the system.
Yes, yes. I don't actually use Beam, but I know them. But every morning before I have my coffee, I have a mineral mocktail to just rehydrate and make sure that my body is actually uptaking the minerals that it needs.
What's the mineral mocktail? Can we hear?
Yeah, so it's an Australian brand of trace minerals. And then I do, because I am low potassium, I do cream of tartar in a little bit of water with just like a splash of sugar-free cranberry juice, mix it up and down it.
Down the hatch.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you get that from Worley Robbins?
No, this
Oh
is just
no. Okay.
this is from
Okay.
my own research, my own concoction.
Because the cream of tartar in Canada doesn't contain potassium. Do you know that?
I get mine from the
And
US.
the yes. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was taking it, the Canadian version, and then I read that. I'm like, oh, well, good thing I'm taking cream of tartar every day.
I
But he
actually
also
really,
recommends the Aussie minerals, so I take those too.
yeah, yeah. I actually love the cream of tartar. I didn't know that I would like it, but I love that tart taste. And if you put it in with like another tart, cranberry juice or cherry juice or something like that, I love it
Oh,
first thing in the morning.
that's great. Great for the adrenal system to do that too. When you have
Totally.
that first thing in the morning on an empty stomach with some sea salt or whatever Aussie minerals. But yeah, sometimes take the bean minerals first thing too for that purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, well, where can everybody find you? And you have a great podcast as well. So tell everybody about that.
Yes, so I'm most active on Instagram, so you can find me at Michelle Scarlet _. My podcast is called The True Health Podcast with Michelle Scarlet. And the whole premise to this is getting to the bottom of women's health issues that your doctor won't tell you about.
Yeah.
And so I interview all kinds of practitioners, all kinds of experts all around women's health, and we're just kind of debunking all of the myths so that you know that you actually have a leg to stand on when you go to your doctor or you go to a practitioner. It is all about advocating for women's health. Um,
Hmm.
so you can come check that out. And then I will leave my ultimate coffee enema guide link with you, Karen, and
Yes,
you can throw that in the show notes because
I
if
will.
you are at all curious, the guide just gives you like a real straightforward, to the point way to do it and what to expect. So if you're just
Perfect.
curious, that's how you can get it.
That's great. And I do recommend trying it, everyone. I know it sounds very intimidating. We get a lot of members in our group that are like, okay, I'm going to try coffee enema, and it's like, no, no, just go do it. You'll be like, okay, that wasn't that
It's
bad.
not that bad. It's not that bad. But yeah, I agree. All of my clients do it. I offer it to everybody. It takes a little bit of practice. It's a little weird, but after a few times, it's normal.
Yeah, it is. And it's so helpful. So, well, thank you for sharing your story. And thank you
You.
for sharing so much information about breast implant illness. And I think there needs to be a lot more awareness around this. So I'm glad that I finally talked about it on my podcast because so many women have them.
I know, I know.
So sad.
I hope they connect the dots and I hope that they have the means to be able to get them out.
To get them out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which you have to really look at it as, okay, I spent the money to put them in. I can spend the money to get them out,
That's how I look at
unfortunately.
it. That's
Yeah,
how I looked at it. I was like,
yeah.
get these things out of me
Yeah, your health matters more.
way more.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michelle. It was great talking to you. My fellow Canadian, by the way, everybody, she's Canadian too. So I don't have a lot of Canadians on the podcast, so I always get excited when I find somebody in Canada.
Amazing. Thank you for having me, Karen.